Assalamualaikum and hi. Good morning to everyone who watched this video. First of all, I would like to introduce our group members. The first one is Putri Aisyah binti Abdul Rashid. Next is Nur Natasha binti Sunilillah. Then we have Anis Zulaika binti Muhammad Fauzi. Next is Shazlina Azrindania binti Syayuza. And lastly is Nur Kisina Balkis binti Muhammad Fahmi. I shall start our presentation with the introduction in Korea. As we all know, Korea is one of the famous countries with their strongly militarized borders in the world separating South Korea, an East Asian country located on the southern half of the Korean peninsula from North Korea. With one of the biggest economies in the world, South Korea has become known for its rapid industrial growth and modern technology. Current estimates indicate that by 2024, South Korea's population will have reached a peak of 51.35 million. Between 2019 and 2020, South Korea's population growth rate dropped from 0.1% to 0.09%, a considerable decrease. With a land size of 90,392 square kilometers or 38,375.46 square miles and an impressively high population density, South Korea is recognized for having a population density that is more than 10 times higher than the average for the world. South Korea is currently one of the world's 15 largest economies and Asia's 5th largest due to significant migration brought on by the country's explosive economic growth in the 1970s. Let's move to the theory of inflation. There are two theories of inflation that have been found. First is the demand pull theory as proposed by Smith 2016, says that inflation demonstrates when aggregate demand of goods and services surpasses aggregate supply leading to excess demand pressure. This theory implies how consumer spending, investment or government expenditure can collectively contribute to an overheated economy and driving to high prices. Other than that is the cost push theory articulated by Gordon 1985, states that this happened because of the cost of production rise, which led producers to increase prices to maintain their profit margin. For example, factors such as an increase in wages, taxes, and raw materials of the product can impact the business throughout the supply chain. Some businesses may feel that it is necessary to charge a higher price to maintain profitability, but then can also cause inflationary pressure. Let's talk about the inflation situation in South Korea. As we all know, the national economy is constantly changing from year to year due to the demand and supply. Furthermore, this is the expected consumer inflation in South Korea that we found in the inflation rate. It has been stated that the rate in the month of May has been increased to 3.20% compared to last month April, which is 3.10% for the 2024 year. The average expected inflation rate is 3.12% from 2002 to 2024. Throughout all the time passed, the Bank of Korea found that the highest rate recorded was in July 2022, which is 4.70%, while for the lowest rate recorded is 1.60% in May 2020. Now, for the issues of inflation in South Korea. South Korea is a country that is famous for tourist visits because of their entertainment, clothes, food, and sightseeing places. However, there are several issues of inflation that have been happening in South Korea. Firstly, according to the source which is Statistics of South Korea, stated that the cost of food has increased by 5.90% in April of 2024 over the same month in the previous year. Food inflation average in South Korea is 12.06% from 1917 until the current year 2024. The highest rate recorded was 103.86% in April of 1983 and the lowest rate recorded was minus 4.50% in the February of 1987. Recent months, policymakers have recently taken steps by prompting them to encourage discounts among retailers because of their growing concern over food prices. The government has also done its part by freezing the public utility charge in the first half as part of its campaign to prevent the cost living increases. Besides that, grocery and beverages in South Korea price rising to 6.70% from a year earlier. The price of clothes and shoes has also increased by 5.40%, while for those of household services and products rising to 3.10%. The Bank of Korea stated that the producer price index for South Korea has risen for the fourth consecutive month in March of 2024. This sudden rise is blamed on a 1.30% increase in agriculture, livestock, and fishery industry products. For the causes of inflation in South Korea, there are recent increases in household energy prices make low-income households in South Korea nearly 300,000 won worse off in 2022 compared to 2021, mostly due to higher petrol, diesel, and gas prices. Next, the prices of imported fossil fuels in a complex market structure. Lastly, renewable energy is very cost competitive these days in South Korea. Let's jump to the effects of inflation. The inflation will discourage investment and savings due to unpredictable over future inflation. Also may have an impact on the payment balance. Moreover, it will also decrease purchasing power. So, how to overcome inflation? Let's find out. Firstly, by using constructionary fiscal policy, which means by creating a budget surplus, the government minimizes the inflationary pressure on the national economy. In this policy, the government must lower government expenditure. Next, raise taxes to reduce aggregate demand. Secondly, using direct control, which is usually used due to increases in the cost of production to control the cost push inflation. In direct control, there will be income policy. Government regulation is necessary to prevent wage growth from exceeding productivity. Trade unions don't need to demand higher wages. There must be a correlation between rising wages and rising productivity. Controlling wage push inflation and production costs is crucial. Next, price control. Prices for specific items will be directly regulated by the government. Price pegging is used to maintain a low overall price level by setting a floor price or ceiling price. Lastly, contractionary monetary policy, which implemented by central bank to raise interest rate and decrease the money supply to curb inflation. In this policy, there will be open market operations. The public is offered government asset, short-term bonds or treasury bills by the central bank on the open market, which lowers bank deposits and limits the amount of credit that commercial banks can extend. Next, raising the base lending rate or bank rate, which means the central bank provides funds to the banking system and serve as lender of last resort. Now, we jump to the theory of unemployment. Unemployment occurs when people of working age are able and willing to work but unable to find a stable job. The Department of Statistics defines the employed as anyone who works for pay, profit or family gain for at least 1 hour during the reference week as an employer or unpaid family worker. For example, are able and willing to accept extra hours of work, but are considered underemployed or have a job but are unable to work because of a leave or injury. Unemployment can be either voluntary or involuntary. When a job becomes available but the unemployed person is unwilling to accept it at the going wage rate, this is known as voluntary unemployment. Meanwhile, the term involuntary unemployment or unemployment refers to a situation in which a person is willing to work for the going wage but is unable to find employment. The term voluntary unemployment or inactive unemployment refers to people who had looked for work before the reference week or were awaiting the outcome of their job application. Lord Beveridge stated that when the percentage of the working population that is unemployed is less than 3%, full employment has been reached. Some people will always be unemployed while they change jobs. There can never be zero unemployment in any economy. Next, the unemployment situation in South Korea. According to conventional measures, South Korea's overall unemployment rate is relatively low when compared to other organizations for economic cooperation and development member nations. Here's an overview of the unemployment situation in South Korea. Firstly, COVID-19's effect. The first outbreak resulted in limitation on company operations and employee mobility, which had an impact on employment, especially in industries like hospitality, tourism, and retail. Despite this, South Korea's relatively successful pandemic management, including early and widespread testing and contact tracing, helped to mitigate some of the economic impact. Secondly, youth unemployment. The rate of youth unemployment in 2023 was over twice as high as the general rate. This is partially due to an increase in young people working in the hospitality sector in temporary, non-regular roles. These temporary employees take on financial risks and receive lower pay. Thirdly, initiative by the government. These include policies that support working mothers and promote work-life balance, as well as programs that encourage startup and innovation. It should be noted that factors can change. So, for the newest data and analysis, refer to the most recent reports from the Bank of Korea, the Korean Statistical Information Service, or foreign agencies such as the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, and the International Labour Organization. Moving on to the issues of unemployment in South Korea. There are a few issues of unemployment in South Korea, and one of them is youth unemployment. South Korea has a high rate of youth unemployment. The unemployment rate for young people was more than twice as high as the rate for all workers in 2023. Furthermore, since there are not enough permanent jobs available, a lot of young people end up in temporary or unsteady employment. These non-regular jobs come with less job security, less benefits, and lower pay. These jobs are common, which increases the youth unemployment rate overall. Next, another example of issues is technological displacement. As we know, South Korea is one of the developing countries where certain job types are being replaced by automation and technological improvement, especially in the manufacturing and service industries. The number of workers required on the production line has decreased as a result of the use of robots and automated systems, which has enhanced productivity. Numerous workers who had previously held this manufacturing position have been replaced by technology. Following with the causes of unemployment in South Korea, unemployment in South Korea can be attributed to several causes. One of them is the education system. A formal education is highly valued in South Korean society as an aspect of achieving success. An important event that can have a big impact on a student's future educational and career chances is the National University Entrance Exam, often known as the Sunyong. An extremely stressful academic environment may result from the pressure to do well on this exam. Other than that, there is a mismatch between education and the job market. Graduates may experience underemployment or trouble obtaining suitable employment if their academic qualifications do not fit well with the needs of available position. Gender disparity is also one of the causes of unemployment in South Korea. In South Korea, women frequently face a class ceiling, which prevent them from going up to more senior roles in businesses. This is caused by a number of things such as prejudice in promotion procedures, outdated work-life balance regulation, and traditional gender norms. Let's move to the next part, effects of unemployment in South Korea. Basically, long-term periods of high unemployment have a negative effect for a long-term economic growth that follows. Not only does it waste resources, but it also pushes people into poverty. For example, personal consequences affect the economy and also social. Self-esteem is damaged by unemployment, which fuels societal dissatisfaction, conflict, and disruption. This is because those without job risk becoming homeless because they are unable to make ends meet, such as rent or mortgage payments. The rates of pharmaceutical use, poor diet, anxiety, depression, suicide, and drug use are higher among the unemployed. People who have experienced prolonged unemployment will lose their job skills, which will result in a loss of human capital. By raising the rate of crime, it might also encourage radical social and political actions. Furthermore, it will affect the economy in South Korea because there is a permanent loss of output of goods and services, making it a waste of resources. A high unemployment rate indicates that an economy is not making full use of all of its resources, particularly workers. The economy's efficiency and production are declining as a result of operating below its production possibility limit. When unemployment is extreme, the government must pay more for unemployment benefits, even if it will collect less in taxes. Less money means less for others expenses like health and education. Because unemployment reduces consumption, it has an impact on economic growth, decreasing productivity and aggregate demand as a result. Suitable policy to overcome unemployment has two, which is fiscal policy and monetary policy. Fiscal policy can be defined as increasing government expenditure. This is because introducing new development initiative, the government may boost its expenditure and hence enhance aggregate demand through the multiplier effect. There will be a rise in production, which will lower cyclical unemployment. Next is monetary policy, can be defined as lowering the interest rate. It is to encourage people to spend. The commercial banks will be required by the central bank to reduce their deposit interest rate. As a result, cyclical unemployment will decline due to an increase in production and aggregate demand. South Korea is known for its innovative technology and quick industrial development. Additionally, South Korea is committed to innovation, fashion, cuisine, movies, music, in particular K-pop, and cinematography. Since youth unemployment is the highest in South Korea, it is the main issues of unemployment in the country. Many young people fight for a limited number of highly valued employment in respectable companies. To conclude, it is evident that the data analyzed has a role in the rate of unemployment and inflation, making South Korea one of the major nations that successfully navigate this difficulty.